That's what
It's
it is.
fixed.
That's what it
Well,
was.
thank you.
Yeah, I just came back and I haven't used it in like 10 years. So.
Oh wow. Well, for the sake of sorting, I'm in the SDC office with Zachary here. He's just helped me fix my mic after fumbling with it for about 5 minutes. But we're finally ready
We
to
got her
start.
going. It's a good thing you learned that from me today, because you'd be having troubles all day if that was
Yeah, seriously. So I'll start with you personally.
Okay.
I'd like to know, um, how you first got involved professionally with the SDC and what your journey of ascension to CEO was like and when that happened.
Okay. So first got involved in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
but the journey started long before that. Pre 2006, 7, 8, and 9, I was an industrial electrician, and I actually broke my back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And my doctor told me that I needed to get a different career that was not labor intensive, or I would be crippled by the time I was 50. So she said, go back to school and get a degree of some kind. I had always had an interest in the First Nations DevCorp and in business. Both my grandfathers were businessmen, self-made millionaires, in fact.
Oh wow.
And they did.
What was their business in?
My grandpa in the States was a promoter. If you watch boxing in the 1970s, he promoted it. He was the guy behind it. Well, until 73 when he died.
Wow.
But the late 60s or 70s promoted everything. My other grandpa was a geologist and
Oh, I see.
got wealthy in the mining, and both of them died young, unfortunately, and didn't leave anything behind money-wise. But no, so I had always been interested in business, and there was a part of me that always wanted to come in and run my First Nations DevCorp. I was always interested in the First Nation as well and working for them. And so I guess that the coin would be to say, the terminology would be say it was sort of my dream job.
Yeah.
To do this. So when I broke my back, I then took that as like the path change in life. Now you got to make a change here. What are you going to do? Are you going to chase your dream? Are you going to go do something different? So I started chasing the dream, if you will, and I went back to school. I got 3 years of my bachelor's of business administration done, and then I got headhunted and got into senior management with the goal of gaining enough experience that I could get this job. Like I started
You had that
working
vision right from the start.
right off the start.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I did 6 years in that position. This SDC at the time in 2017 had put out a posting for CEO. I applied and I heard nothing back. A year later, one of the board members comes to me and says, hey, you'd be great at this job. Well, why don't you apply? And I said I did apply. I applied a year ago. And then they went looking and they found my resume in the desk here, and they brought me in for a interview, and they said, yeah, this guy looks like what we need here. And I was forthcoming with them and told them, like, I've never been a CEO before. I've got lots of experience in the industry. I'm senior management, director level. But I need some experience in these key areas. And they said, oh, that's great, because we can help get you that experience. And they offered me the job. So I've been here ever since, 7 years now.
Wow.
I have a long track record, though, working for the First Nation. Before that, I was the chair of the finance committee as well.
Oh, interesting.
So I did that work, policy work, advisory group work, oversaw the investments for the Minto mine, working with investment managers, obviously, but acted kind of like owner's rep. And I built a rapport with the community through that work. So then when it came time to apply here and come here, the community already knew me. And
sorry, just for clarification, you were overseeing the First Nations investments in the mine?
The investments that the First Nation received from royalties. So they took their royalties and invested them,
I see.
and I oversaw those portfolios of investments.
I see, thank you.
So, and every year more money would come in from the mine and go into those and beef those investments up. So we would work with investment managers to ensure that they were invested properly, sticking to the policy, and policy changes. One of the big things that I did when I was the chair is I got the community to agree to allow a certain portion of our investments to be moved into the European markets and nascent markets, emerging markets. Because at the time, Canada wasn't doing very well, neither was the States.
Mm.
in terms of their investments. Like you couldn't, you're seeing negative returns in both these countries, but Europe was just going crazy.
Right.
So it was like, why do we have all our money sitting in this market when we're missing out?
Totally.
So we changed the investment policy, got it in there, and did really well. Never lost anything. But when I came here, I had a good rapport with the community. So I always say that one of the reasons why I've been able to succeed here is because the community trusted me
Right.
as a insider, if you will, and they knew me from the work I did before, and they knew I would never recommend a deal that would be bad for the community. I'm not here just trying to get money for myself for a bonus. I'm here to try to create wealth for my citizens, the people that I work for. That's what I'm here to do.
Mm.
And I think they've seen that, and that's why I've been able to stay so long, I guess, if you will, and be
Right.
successful. It's part of it.
Right. And so, what is your vision for the role of the EDC in like economic development of the nation in general?
Sorry, EDC,
The Economic Development Corporation. Yes.
okay, so the role of this in general, I guess, we have a mandate. I mean, it's provided from the First Nation, but it is to create wealth, economic wealth for the First Nation and its citizens is essentially what we're here to do.
Right.
But we try to do that by maximizing our opportunities in the traditional territory and beyond. So we're not fixed to our traditional territory, but it is the first focus.
Yeah.
And our traditional territory is central Yukon, with Pelly Crossing being our base of operations, if you
Right.
will. That's where our chief and council reside. The chief and council is the First Nation. The First Nation is our shareholder that owns us.
Right.
So yeah, it's to create that economic wealth, and it's that wealth is generated through multiple ways, and it's not just money that is the KPI for that. Like, wealth comes in many ways. Wealth is your health. Like, if people are healthy, that's like having wealth. Having good adjusted children that are growing up in a happy homes, having homes for our people, not having a bunch of homeless people,
Yeah.
having positions for our people to work in. So in my mind, I always look at the triple bottom line of things.
Okay.
I'm looking at the environmental, social, and the revenue coming in.
Interesting.
And we don't make decisions based solely on revenue here.
Okay, interesting.
Right? So we'll look at projects and we'll say, okay, we can make a lot of money, but is this something that the community is going to want or
Right.
need?
Right.
Is this going to adversely affect our people if we do this?
I see.
And if those things are big, hard, like yeses, like these will really affect your people in a negative way, we're not going to go down that path. Because even if we can make a lot of money at it, if our community is failing and our people aren't healthy and they don't have housing or they don't have what they need, then we're missing our mandate completely.
Oh, interesting.
It's not just about putting money back in the bank, right? Which would be the status quo, the standard mercantilist, capitalist view of what you're doing here for economic development. You're making money, you're putting it in the bank, and you're sitting on it, making it grow. But meanwhile, if you're doing that and your people are addicted to opioids and dying at a rate of like one every other day, that money isn't going to do you anything when you don't have any population in the future to even run your businesses.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where we are very focused on doing things in a fashion that's culturally and environmentally sustainable. For our people. Long term, we look generational too. Like, so we do a lot of short term projects because that's what's available. But when we look at our time horizon, it's generational. Right, we're a generational organization, so we typically try to think in that lens of a long-term development, not just, well, let's do a 2-year project with a mine. We're looking for mines that will last for 30 years.
Right.
A long time, provide generational wealth.
I see. Can you think of a time when, it's really interesting what you're saying, when the considerations for like the social and environmental aspects sort of outweighed the revenue, like when there might have been an opportunity to make a bunch of money, but you decide against it because of adverse effects on the environment or health or social factors.
Fracking.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
And I can't say, like, that example is not just us internally. I'm talking from a nation perspective.
Right.
So the Yukon First Nations in general, all of them sit at the Council of Yukon First Nations table. And through leadership there, even though there is billions of dollars to be made, the determination was that this could cause the destruction of our lands and the destruction of our people through the loss of their traditional food sources, pollution of the water, not being able to drink the water in the area, the air, etc. And no amount of money was worth that cost. So that's a prime example of when as a whole the Yukon First Nation said no to something like this.
Really?
In-house, I can't think of many that we've had to say no to because they would be impactful, other than say like mining or oil and gas and some of those operations. We've had to say like we can't do this. A lot of our focus though is not in those areas. So we generally have a good concept of what we can get past, if you will, by our shareholder, because we here at SDC, I work for a board, then that board and myself also work for the shareholder.
Right.
So I don't get to just say, well, I think that's a great deal, let's go and get into this business. I got to get approved by the board, then we have to take it to the shareholder and get approved by the shareholder.
Of course.
And sometimes that approval by the shareholder will come with a sidebar that says, we don't know, go to the community and get their approval on it, right? So a lot of these things, we just know there's no way you're going to get that through the community.
Yeah.
So we were able to make that determination and just not even go down that path.
I see.
So I guess what I'm just saying, that go, no-go decision happens so soon on some of these projects, you don't even get to really understand what the revenue would be like, because it's deemed so impactful in a negative way to the people or the environment that we're not even going to go there. Right. So we tend to try to focus on things that have more chance, like renewable energy. If we're in mining, we tend to try to take a supportive role rather than try to say, let's open up this new mine, right? Because the people will be like, wait a minute, right? Especially nowadays. But if we can say, well, we're not opening up the mine, we're not doing that, but we provide helicopter services for the exploration, we provide drilling, we do that, and then we're going to make our money that way in a supportive role, right? And then it's not necessarily putting all your eggs into a bigger, broader basket.
I see. So what kind of businesses do you have partnerships with or own that are involved in the mining sector? And do you get any advantages in like contracting because of IBAs or anything like that?
We used to. So
I see.
That's a big question. And basically, as far as the partnerships go, we've had partnerships with every component in a mine, from supplying the chemicals to the mine, to the drilling, to the bus services, to the flights, to the catering. We've had partnerships in all of that, and that came by way of, it wasn't called an IBA, but it was called a co-op agreement. But it's the exact same thing.
I see. And sorry, which mine was that with?
Minto mine.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so Minto has been our bread and butter.
Yeah.
It's on our Category A land, which is very, very advantageous to us. It's the only mine in Canada that has these rights.
Right.
And what that means is that the First Nation owns the surface and subsurface rights. So any royalties that come from that mine go to the First Nation, not to the government, which is how the royalty regime works anywhere else. And here too, is if the mine is opened up here and it's on Crown land or even on just a First Nations traditional territory, the royalties will go back to the government. If the mine is on the First Nations Category A, B, or C land, actually Category A, B is a little bit different, but if it's on the A land, then it all goes to the First Nation. So Minto Mine was an island sitting right in the middle of Category A lands, and that allowed the First Nation to stop the mine from ever happening, which meant that the owners of the mine had to negotiate some form of an IBA, which was like the first one in the Yukon, I understand, or maybe one of the first ones that actually made any money for a First Nation back in 2006, 2007. And so the First Nation got a co-op with the Minto explorations at the time, and in the co-op agreement, it said that contracting opportunities would go to a designated affiliate of the First Nation, and the DevCorp was designated as that affiliate.
So, all contracting opportunities?
Basically, all
Wow.
contracting opportunities went.
Wow.
Now, there were specific things that were spelled out, like fuel and underground mine services or open tailings pits or whatever. There's all these little pieces that were spelled out. But the intent of the agreement was that if they needed anything, they would run through us to get it, and that's how we would make our money.
Right.
We still had to be somewhat commercially competitive. Like, we couldn't come in there and mark it up 100%. But they were supposed to go to us, and that negotiation came about by giving up a portion of the net smelter return. So at the end of the year, I think it's done quarterly, but the mine would send all of their ore out to the smelter, right? And whatever return came off that from the net return, it says this is how much we're going to pay you for this ore you've given us to the smelter. Your net return is $9 million. We would get X percentage of it on that. Then we also got the Quartz Mining Act royalty, which is the main royalties that come out of it. So there are these two forms of royalty streams. And what the negotiators of the day said is, well, we need something for our DevCorp, because all of this stuff goes to the First Nation, not to the Corp.
Right.
So the mine said, well, we want your Corp to work for us to make their money. They have to work to make money. So they said, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll remove some of our net smelter return. And what you're going to do is you're going to give all the contracting opportunities to our DevCorp, and they will satisfy those in a commercial way.
I see.
So that was our overarching sort of agreement that came into play. It didn't end up working that way. I mean, we can talk more about that, about mining companies and what they like to do. But at the end of the day, when they shut down, we had 85 different contracts running in there. We had 85. Now, not all of them were paying, though.
Right.
That's the thing, because that's back to what mining companies do, what they want to do. I have some pretty negative things I can say,
please.
But they would only use 20 of them. So we'd have all these contracts, and they would only use certain ones, and then they would go behind our backs, and they would get other contractors to come in to do work.
Fuck.
So they were literally ripping us off, and at the end of their term there, right before they went bankrupt, I had done a number of things. One, I was shopping around trying to take the mine from them, and had conversations with, well, let's call him a broker, who had access to the majority of the stockholders of the mine. And there's some laws within the securities law. There's some clauses in there where you can take over a company without a hostile takeover, and all the filings that has to happen with that, and the public knowledge, and all of these things. You can take over a company silently if you buy the majority of that company from 5 investors or 6 investors.
Oh, you see it's big ones?
And so if you go take over if you say 5 people own 51% of the company,
right,
you can buy all of their stock out without having to announce a hostile takeover or any of that, reverse takeover, and basically do it silently and become the owner of the property.
Wow.
So we started looking into this and found a pathway. We could have bought it, but then the mine announced out of nowhere, we're shutting down.
So you got totally surprised by that?
I won't say surprised, but yes, because there were indications for the past year previous that the mine was going to go down, but they kept putting together plans for all of us. They put us all on non-disclosure agreements. All of the contractors working, the First Nation, everybody was on NDAs, and we got all this information out of them where they were starting to be honest. Okay, we're having these issues, but we have investors, and we see by this date these will all work out. But that date came and went, and then there was nothing, and then 3 weeks later, we're walking off site, it's done. And they walked out. Before they walked out, They increased all of the management staff bonuses, their pays.
Yeah, of course.
They got 30% increases, paid all the management staff, all their bonuses. The CEO made over something like 2 to 3 million in that last year, and then they left every single creditor hanging, which amounted to be $30+ million in the wind. Didn't pay any of them, and walked off the job. Wow. They didn't even tell the employees that were leaving on that shift, guys, this is coming.
Yeah.
Tomorrow the mine is shutting down. They let them leave all of their gear in there.
Oh my God.
And then their tools and everything became stranded, and these people couldn't even get their own tools off the site because they couldn't get back in. It was done completely wrong by the management. It was so underhanded what they did that in my mind they should all be in jail. Yeah. But they're protected in the way they've done this by the law, and unfortunately everybody else gets to hold the bag. So STC's out millions, maybe not millions, but over $1 million+. All of our partners, like, they're out money, anywhere from 5 to 7 million, some of them.
Wow.
One partner just put in $3 million within 6 weeks, and then they shut down.
Wow.
Like, lost $3 million in 6 weeks, and they were just lying the whole time. No, it's all good. Just keep putting your money in. Put your money in. Lying to me, telling me to keep my guys working, keep our partners working.
Yeah.
So but I knew this was coming, and I put up cameras on the road, trail cams. I started watching the road in there. And why did I do that? Because a picture's worth 1,000 words. Yeah. And I knew that there was probably 100 trucks going in that site every month that didn't have a partnership with us that should have. And so I started tracking what was going in and out of the mine, building a court case against them because they were in clear breach of our cooperation agreement, clear breach, and I had to prove it. So I started trying to prove it, and then the mine shut down. So all this went down right at the time when I was like, had the investors, could have bought it, could have sued them, all this stuff. Then it goes down and it's in receivership, and it's like, well, now there's nothing I can do about it, nothing. So it's been 2 years now, year and a half of trying to figure out how to stay alive, pivot everything, change our whole business.
Seriously.
There's no more cooperation agreement because the mine's defunct now, and in the Yukon, if the mine becomes abandoned, then it reverts to the Quartz Mining Act, which basically says, in the Quartz Mining Act, it says the Yukon government then takes control of the site. So now the Yukon government has control of the site. They're issuing contracts that used to be direct awarded to us. And they're not
for remediation, or
for remediation. This past year they came out with 6 or 7 contracts. One was an earthworks remediation, one was site services, one was fuel supply and delivery, one was environmental, and is that it? I think that was all of them. And so SDC normally would have a bulk share of all these contracts.
Yeah, but you don't get any advantages or anything on those?
Basically, what we get is the same advantage that any other First Nation would get under the Yukon government procurement policy, which allows a certain bid value reduction based on your ownership in the company, First Nation participation, First Nation subcontracting. But it's not a process that works great, and the reason why is because it doesn't account for, say, revenue sharing arrangements. Revenue sharing is a way we've made money historically at the mine. How we would capture a lot of those contracts, we couldn't do them all ourselves. So what we do is we go to XYZ Drilling Company and say, we have this preferred opportunity. We will assign you this opportunity for 3% or 2%. For basically a small little chunk of revenue. We will give you this. But when you go to bid jobs with the government, the bid value reduction doesn't work that way. It only works if you own the company.
Oh, interesting.
Or up to 51%, right? If it's 100%, then you get a higher bid value reduction. Up to 20% is the max bid value reduction. But so that doesn't really leave you a lot. And what ends up happening is that the government plays this game where you don't have experience. Right? So you want to bid the environmental contract. You have a partner. That partner has 50 years experience doing this. They're the biggest company in the world. This is actually a true story. and you put together a partnership that says, look, we're going to bid this under our company. We want to build our capacity in-house, but we're going to do this with the support of a multinational company that's world-renowned, that has all the technical capabilities to help us grow into this, and we will do this. And the government says, no, you won't. We're not going to give you the contract because you have no experience. So you're out the door, and you don't get the contract.
Wow.
So you don't get bid value reduction for backing people and doing it the old-fashioned way like we've always done. No, you can't get the contract that way. You have to own the company. But if you own the company and you don't have any experience, well, we're not going to give it to you anyway.
Oh yeah, it's catch-22.
So it's a big catch-22. You have to have the experience to get the job. You have to be a First Nation company.
That's brutal. Who got most of those contracts?
So we did in one way or another.
Okay.
But it took a lot of me pushing. I had a lot of meetings with the Yukon government, Energy, Mines and Resources, and I had pushed hard enough, and they had a short enough timeline that they direct awarded us 2 contracts. They direct awarded us the earthworks contract and the construction of the ice road, because you have to have an ice road to get across the river.
Of course.
So we were direct awarded those, but we were only direct awarded them if we used creditors of the mine that had worked there before when the mine went down and were owed money.
Oh, interesting.
So they put this kind of wrench in there, and that was sort of okay because the creditors of the mine were us and our partners.
Yeah.
So we'd already worked with all of them before.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so we just said, okay, well, we'll use this company, and we'll bring them in, we'll do this, we'll subcontract this to them, and we'll do this job, and it'll work out fine. So that did happen for those 2, but then the site services, the fuel, and the environmental, we had to come up with different ways to try to bid those, and we ended up bidding the fuel on our own and winning it because we own a store, and we've been buying and reselling fuel at that store for 30 years.
Oh, of course.
So I was able to say, hey, like, this is what we're doing. We're just buying and reselling fuel. If you think any First Nation is making their own fuel, you're out to lunch. To name a First Nation that owns a refinery.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Like, they're all buying and reselling fuel. So we did that. We won the fuel contract. We have a partner that hauls it for us. We're not subcontracting any of it, though. It's done in-house, invoiced in-house. And then we did revenue share agreements on the site services and on the environmental. The government picked those companies, but I don't know that they picked them because of the relationship with us. And what I mean is that those companies were forthcoming and wanted to work with us and were paying us. They're going to pay us some revenue for this. But whether or not that affected the bid, I don't know.
Right.
That's more along our lines of just doing good business, negotiating well, and getting what we want. Exactly.
Yes,
you know, at the end of the day, maybe a little pat on the back from the CEO or for the CEO, but it's not necessarily that those partnerships are why those guys got the jobs, because we were partnered. And so what we did with some of those is we cast a big broad net where we bid the environmental one ourselves through our company, but we also backed 4 other people to bid it. We bid against ourselves. So we backed every person that was bidding at every company except for one. And that way, whoever wins, we win, right? As long as it's not that one fucking company. But, you know, so that's what we did. And that's often what we do is we'll back everybody for a smaller percentage of the revenue and make sure we win. And then in this new world that we have to bid these government contracts now, it's been a pain in the butt because, you know, you go from a place where you're direct awarded these to some extent, like you have to fight with the mine to make sure that they're honest, and you have to keep track and everything, and you get ripped off all the time. But at least there's an agreement that says you're supposed to have this.
Right.
Nowadays, it's just like open free-for-all. You're bidding in the open market like anybody else.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really sit well with our people because the mine, as I said, is on Category A land.
Yeah.
And Category A land is supposed to mean that First Nation owns the surface and subsurface rights.
Yeah.
So why are we now having to bid jobs just like everybody else on our own Category A land?
Yeah.
Like, what did we fight for?
Yeah, that's insane.
It's not right. But the thing is that there's a Quartz Mining Act that says this. And when I spoke to the ADM at EMR, I pushed them to direct award all of these contracts to us. I literally went in there and said, you should direct award every single one of these to this. They're for our people on our land.
Yeah.
No company should come in here and be bidding this and taking this and us not getting a part of it. That's not right.
Seriously.
And they told me there's more non-First Nation voters than there are First Nation voters.
Oh, Jesus.
And we have to try to please everybody, so we cannot do that for you. I mean, he was honest. I appreciate his honesty.
Yeah.
But it's
just politics at the end of the day, I guess.
But it's bullshit at the end of the day. And then you're going and bidding these things, and they're picking the companies they want in there anyway. So you do end up feeling like it's all just a game, and you're only going to win if you're partnered with who they want. Wow. Right? And so it doesn't feel real good. It doesn't, and it doesn't. You know, I don't think it's nefarious in what they're doing. Like, they're trying to win votes. They're politicians at the end of the day. They, you know, and these bureaucrats, they take their direction from those politicians.
Of course. And
there's an election coming, and the Liberals aren't doing good. So, you know, so the Liberal government's like, we got to buy votes. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Here we are. But it's been hard because switching now, the government has all these rules. Like, if you want to bid a contract over $100,000, you have to be CORE or C-Corps certified. CORE certification comes from the Northern Safety Network, and it takes about a year to get. And it basically means you have to set up a full safety management system, and you have to document everything daily. You have to have all these policies and procedures and forms, and it all has to be filled out. Then you have to be audited multiple times to make sure you're tracking it all. And then down the road after that, you'll get your CORE certification finally, and then you have to maintain it.
Yeah.
So it's a constant thing that could cost you, like, I'd say right now it's probably $60,000-$70,000 we've got spent on this thing. Yeah. And if we don't have this CORE C-Corps, it's called C-Corps because we're a small organization, CORE is for bigger. If we don't have this by the time they let out the earthworks contract, which could be next month, we're not even gonna be able to bid it. So we'll lose the biggest bread and butter that we've ever always had.
Yeah.
Because we don't have this certification now, and the government's letting the contracts out. So
that's brutal.
So we've been working really hard to get that. I identified this last year right off. Like I said, we have to get this. So we started going through the motions, but we're still not there. And it's just the whole pivot that's had to happen where you're used to doing business this way, and now all of a sudden you've had to shift complete directions, go another direction, spend all this time and money and energy on it, and you don't even know if you're going to get the contract now.
Yeah.
So there's a big uncertainty in that too.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And if we don't get the contract, then what do we do? Right?
Yeah.
So it's been a challenge. It's been a big challenge. Like everything else here, though, and my ascension to CEO has been tough. It's been really hard.
Yeah, quite the time to take the job on. I'm wondering about how many of your members were employed at Minto?
Not many.
Oh yeah.
Not many, no.
Including through like working at the company, also for contractors.
Yeah, I mean over the years, probably had maybe 100, maybe more of our citizens go through on a daily basis. At the end, there was probably half a dozen maybe working there of our citizens. They'd all been through it, and there was a lawsuit at one point from a non-First Nations person that was suing the mine for anti-First Nation sentiment.
Really?
Yeah, their VP of operations, exploration, she was suing them near the end there for anti-First Nation sentiment, and I saw it all the time in how they dealt with us. They lied to us, they ripped us off.
Totally.
They didn't want to hire our people, and our people were treated like shit there. So when they went out there, they didn't want to stay there, and so they didn't.
Yeah.
They wouldn't work there.
Yeah.
That's basically what ended up happening. And that's unfortunately, in my mind, what happens when you have a mine run by a bunch of white dudes from New York that work on Wall Street.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about these people on the ground. They don't care that your community is suffering. You've been through every generational trauma you can imagine. No, they just want their bottom line as big as they can get it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, our people didn't work there. Some of them would work for us, but there's very few. And right now, I think this summer we had probably about the same, maybe half a dozen working out there of our people. We employed our own on some of these contracts.
Right.
And we have one of our guys is working on the environmental right now on the water treatment. He's the only water or environmental guy out there that does samples right now.
Right.
But very few.
I see. Does your does the SDC like, do you have policies that would encourage your members to be employed by the SDC or something like that?
Yeah, so I was actually just doing my final review of our people policy today. When I started here, there was very few policies and procedures on anything, very, very, very limited book based on the First Nations policies and procedures. And then in the last 4 years, I've been working a lot on this, and we've had a finance policy procedure manual. We just got that passed and approved. It was on the table for 3 years, waiting for directors to approve it. It's hard to get directors too. That's the other thing here. It's hard. There's just not a lot of people that have business acumen. They don't have the education or experience in the Yukon, and when they do, they don't want to come sit on a part-time board.
Right.
So.
I see.
Sorry, what was the question
It
again?
was, how do you make sure
the policy procedure?
Yeah, policies for making sure that you're hiring your members.
And so in what we've identified in recent times is one, most people don't want to work for DevCorps.
Okay.
Why is that? Because long hours, you don't get all of the government perks, like the government, including the First Nation government, because they're governments up here in the Yukon, the First Nations. You can't compete with their time off. You can't compete with their wages. You can't compete with all the benefits and stuff. So we're trying, we've identified this, and we're trying to find ways to make it better. So we've created some employee retention policies. We have a preferential hire policy. So if you are First Nation and you have qualifications or a mix of qualifications and experience, you will get the job over anybody else.
Right. And sorry, that's for First Nations in general, or for your
That's for our First Nation,
for
Selkirk First Nation members, but as I understand, all the other DevCorps have the same policies.
Yeah.
The First Nations do too. They have a desire to hire their own people. So we have that, but right now we're finishing off our policies for retention, which have some additional things like we've increased our leaves so that people have a bunch of paid time off. We're putting in like a membership, a yearly wellness allowance, where we'll help cover the cost of memberships to gyms or whatever you want to do, anything around your wellness to try to get people healthy and happy. Those are sort of the big things, is we have some of them policies like that we're coming out with. We don't have anything major like, where we would offer, incentives or things. We are trying to put in a company-wide bonus policy as well, so that everybody gets a bonus here.
Right.
If there's revenue to pay.
And does that extend to those preferential hiring policies, for instance? Does that extend to partnerships you'll have with other businesses?
Yes and no. I mean, we don't typically say who they can and cannot.
Right.
But in our agreements, they're supposed to try to hire our people. Right? That's one of the basic bottom line terms of what we're trying to do, is that you're going to hire our people. To the top being that you're going to provide us money as well.
Yeah.
You got to provide money back. But yeah, so we build that in, and training, try to train our people. And to be honest with you, the majority of all our partners are great when it comes to that. They want to hire our people. They want to train them. The problem we have is that our people don't want to work. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's not everybody, but we have a bunch of issues, barriers to employment, as they're called, with our people, and not just ours, but a lot of the nations in the Yukon. Stemming back from the original trauma from residential school is still affected a lot.
Totally.
So then there's a lot of drug and alcohol addiction, and with the opioid epidemic that's been going on, the community north of us in Mayo has had, I think in the last 2 years, they've had 40 overdoses.
Fuck.
The whole community is only 350 people, or 400 people.
Jesus Christ.
And our community, we've had 1 or 2 that have died. We haven't had the deaths, but everybody's doing it. Everybody's high, and we got these people. These, they're usually like from Nigeria or somewhere like that. They're African looking. They come in, they set up in an elder's basement, and they live in it with an elder. And the First Nation can't kick them out because they're getting the elder high. And the elder is like, no, that's my buddy. He's just staying here. And then the person's selling drugs in the community until there's enough evidence to kick them out. And so these barriers into employment, like when you look at our population, the majority of our population are elders. They're too old to work anymore, unfortunately, the demographics. And then when you get down into the workforce, you have a large number of people with these high barriers to employment. They're alcoholics, they're drug addicts, they can't hold down a job, they've never really even had a job, so they're very unskilled, they don't have skilled labor. So there's all of them. Then there's a chunk of the population that are adults that are working. They're doing great in their life, they're raising kids, but those people already have 1 to 3 jobs. And then you go down the line a little further, and you end up with the teenagers. And out of the teenagers, we have very few, and some of them have already gone down the path of alcohol and drugs. So to try to bring them back is a challenge. And beyond that, then you just have children. And so, every year we might have 1 or 2, 3 graduates that are looking to go do something different with their lives. You might have 1 or 2 or 3 that just want to do the status quo and just stay in the community. And to some people, welfare is a way of life. You turn 18, you're legal to get your welfare, get your welfare. Who needs a job? And that is another problem we have in our community, is that the dependence on welfare is rampant, and we don't charge housing. So everybody gets a free house. So people don't really need money if they don't have to pay rent. There's a lot of free food, hot lunch program, all these things going around. And it makes it hard for the private sector, public, whoever, the working class, to try to pull people in. Why would I go to work? I can stay up all night, party, I get my house paid for. They all buy a big bunch of alcohol and drink it together, so when one person's got money, they got alcohol, and the next person's got money, they got alcohol. And then they do this thing, and that's how they live. That's just a way of life, unfortunately. And it's sad. It's not the way it's supposed to be. But because of it, we can't get employees. So now what we're ending up doing is the foreign worker program.
Oh, really?
So we're trying to access foreign workers. We have 3 of them already at our store, because we operate the grocery store, gas station, hotel. We own that in Pelly. And we have 3 there. We're continually looking for more, and drop my pen nib. And what we see in the future is a revolving door, because we don't have the citizen base. That's the one thing I forgot to mention, is that our First Nation only has 750 people total. And 400 of those live outside of the traditional territory. They live from Vancouver to Whitehorse to some in Ontario. So you have 350 that live in the traditional territory where we do business. And then 60% of them are elders. Right? So when you start drawing these lines down, and you say, okay, cut that group out, group out, all the addictions, all that, you get down to having maybe 10 people that are capable of working, don't have a job, and that might actually apply. They might not, because they might not want to work. But you have such limited numbers of people that when you talk about, okay, the government wants us to own all these companies, or we can't bid these jobs, right? They want us to have these big chunks of ownership in them. Well, we don't have enough people to run one of those companies if they were to be with all of our people. Like, we just don't have the people. We don't have 7,000 members. So you start to feel like there's a major advantage here in some of the policy and procedure and the way this is done because of our population base. We are so limited. How do we ever have a 100% First Nation owned company that has all our own citizens working there? Like, you're never. It's not going to happen. We do pretty good here. There's 4 out of 6 of us here are all Selkirk First Nation members, and I purposely try to hire Selkirk members to keep those numbers up. But at some point, you're not going to have enough members trained or qualified or that want to work to even do it. So That's the dismal part of it, but
Yeah, that's a bit bleak, but that makes a lot of sense when you break it down like that.
yeah, it's just numbers. It's just math.
Yeah.
It really is, and yeah, I mean, we have a lot of elders. We have people didn't. These younger generations, like my generation, didn't have as many kids.
Right.
We came through hell. I think, you know, I know I did growing up. I remember sleeping in the pickup truck
Yeah.
because the parents were in partying, big party in the house till
Right.
8, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And if I wanted to sleep at night, I had to go outside
Right.
and sleep in the truck while everybody was drinking, and then come in the house in the morning and try to make myself breakfast while a bunch of people are passed out with beer bottles everywhere.
Right.
Like, that's how I grew up, and other kids are growing up that same way today. You know, it's pretty hard to try to break any kind of cycle and get people to change. And you have elders that are doing the same thing. Their whole attitude is, oh, well, we sobered up when we were 70, so they will someday too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but by the time you're 70, you wasted your whole damn life. But
Yeah,
what good are you?
exactly.
Like, I mean, and for work, what good are you for the community? How are you gonna go out there and grow this community at that age when you're trying to retire?
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, going off topic a bit here, but it's a very important
Yeah.
factor to this whole scenario.
Yeah. I do hear that everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, thanks for sharing that.
yeah, no problem. Yeah.
One more thing, if you don't mind.
No, lots of time.
Switch
Keep
the
going.
topic.
Still got time.
Real quick. I'd like to know what's your strategy been for diversifying after the Minto closure?
No.
And then how dependent you were on it?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
And how successful you've been in diversifying and pivoting away from it.
Moving away.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how much of that pivoting includes remediation?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have to ask you again for some of this, but I'll try to
So
start
that
here.
was the four-part.
Or 4 parts, yeah. So, excuse me. Still recovering a bit. Had a cold friggin'
Oh, sorry.
a month and a half ago, and my lungs are still.
Oh,
I think it was
I hear
COVID
you.
again because it's
Oh, really?
it hasn't come out of my lungs since then.
Yikes.
I've just been wheezing and coffee, but it was like September the 10th or something. I had it anyway. The mine, when I started here,
Mhm.
within 3 months of being a new fledgling CEO, I got the news the mine was going to shut down for the first time. So at that time, I started calculating, okay, revenues, what does this do for us? It was 74% of our revenue came from that mine.
And that's in what year?
And that was in 2018. They announced it, and they shut their doors January 1st of 2019.
Right.
And it basically stayed down for the better part of a year, and then Pembridge Resources came in and bought it, and it took another year for them to get it running. They ran it for 2 years, 2.5 years. That was it, and then they shut down again. The first time it shut down, I realized that this organization needs to diversify massively, and I started pitching this to everybody, the shareholder, everybody. You got 74% of your revenue has just been wiped off the table overnight. I don't know where that's going to come from. Like, I just started here. How the hell am I supposed to replace millions of dollars overnight in the Yukon Territory? It's not like we're in LA where you can just start selling shit. Like, I mean, you're in the Yukon, man. Like, and so they all agreed we needed to pivot our business. So what we started doing was looking at the businesses we currently have and how to make more money out of them. Minto Resort is one that we have. It's a little resort, and it's historically made very little money, but we did a full revitalization, a full marketing feasibility study on it, created the business plan and all that, went to the funders. We're finishing our second round of funding now that we've put 2.5, 3 million into it. And by next summer, it got swamped by COVID. It would have been done by now, but COVID screwed the whole thing up. And that's a whole nother long story about why it went the way it did. But by next summer, we'll have a restaurant takeout counter there. We have 40 RV or 40 camp stalls. There'll be 10 of them, 10 or 14 of them will be full serviced with, well, at least water and power. They don't have the sewer, but we put a sandy dump in, a new wash house. We're putting a whole new central fire pit and like all the beautification and turning it into What it's been is a Holland America bus stop where we feed about 15,000 people a summer. We feed them lunches as they go back and forth from Dawson. But we're expanding that now, so we have that anchor tenant. But now we're also going to have the RV park, the river travel options, and eventually, and as well have a restaurant there because we serve lunch, but only to Holland America. Now we'll be able to, like, you want to come up and order a burger and fries and a milkshake, you can get one, right? And we'll service that RV park. So we did that. The store, we own a restaurant, or the store has no restaurant. We are trying to build a new store that will have a restaurant, have more hotel rooms. It'll have shops for people to open up their own little, like, sell their goods in, because that's one of the problems in Pelly with economic development is there's no brick and mortar to put a store in anywhere. There's nothing. There's not even a house to live in. So we are trying to build that, and then we started bidding some government contracts. We did like some energy contracts, and then we did a whole bunch of feasibility work on energy production, because in the Yukon we have a shortfall of production, and the government has all these lofty plans. They need all this power. So we started saying, where can we make power? And we've done 2 years of wind study. We've got a solid partner and some assets in that. We got 1.8 million on the table from the feds now to do design. So we're moving on a partnered wind project with our Northern DevCorp, and NMDDC's partnering with us on that. We've just finished up our pre-feasibility on 85 megawatt run-of-the-river and pump storage hydro project.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's the real one, and it's world class. The engineers say this is a world class site. You have everything here you need to do this, where other places they have to build it. You have it naturally.
And that's on the river?
It's on the Pelly River.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it won't dam the river. It just a little diversion of some water, and that's about it. It's but it's a hot button with the community because there used to be a plan on the table to dam the river completely.
People have memories of.
Yeah, because it was only like 10 years ago, and they fought to get it off the table. There's like no effing way are they damming this river, because it was going to back up 200 miles of all the best moose country and flood it all.
Totally.
So that the breadbaskets go on.
Yeah.
Right. So no fucking way is that going to happen. No way in hell. Pardon me, am I swearing? But that's just the way people see it, right? But anyway, so we've come back, and I probably have lost some popularity to even looking at this, but we have to find a way to diversify away from mining, because it's happened so many times in the Yukon's history. It's a boom and bust cycle, and it's great while it's booming, but it's always going to bust. It's not going to boom forever, so we have to have something else. So we really focus in those areas as well. We started focusing on contracts in our community. How do we get more, because the First Nation lets out contracts all the time. And last year we cut our teeth on a $2.5 million water project. I went and bid it all. I actually took project management courses last year, the first time I went back to school in a long time. And I was like, okay, well, let's put together a charter and let's bid this job for the government. So I did for the First Nation government. So we were awarded that, and we pivoted into there. And then we also said, okay, well, we can't give up mining. We need to diversify within mining. So we had two objectives. One is to diversify outside of mining, and then one is to diversify within mining. On the outside of mining as well, we invested in a venture capital firm down south to try to get our money out of the Yukon. And that's like a 10-year time horizon to get our money back. But it's like we put in $500,000 and we should get something like $4 or $5 million back out of it. So it's a pretty decent little chunk of change over time, and so we did that. Also, there's a bunch of little things that bought medevac planes. We own medevac planes now. They're leased out. We bought in our diversification within mining. We bought 60% of the fleet of ore trucks for the mine, and then leased them back. And we leased them back through a deal where they work regardless if the mine shuts down. So they're still working right now for a carrier. So we did that, and then so we did all these diversifications outside of mining. Most of it feasibility, and most of it is still not completed. It's like these projects, like the hydro project, 10-year project, the wind project, 8-year project. Like they all take years and years and years to do. The diversification within mining, though, we started leasing stuff, and we started looking at the other mines. so we developed a rapport and relationship with Casino Mining Corporation,
Oh yeah.
which is the big one.
Yeah.
Like it's right smack dab in our territory.
Yeah.
And will be the largest mine in the Yukon if it goes.
Yeah.
And historically, the DevCorp didn't have the authority to speak to Casino from the First Nation, because the First Nation wasn't sure that they supported the project. So they didn't necessarily give the DevCorp of the day the responsibility to talk to them. So I went to the First Nation and said, look, we got to talk to these guys. Like, this is the biggest economic driver in our territory.
Definitely.
We can't just sit there and stonewall these guys. So they said, yeah, go ahead and talk to them, but you're not allowed to support the mine in the sense of like trying to start the mine or any of that. You can support them in terms of if they need this or that, they want to do some road maintenance, they want to hire you, fine, you can make some money. Because that's what I said.
Yeah.
You know, I said there's $1 billion of opportunities just up to the point where they built the mine.
Yeah.
Right. So where do we fit into all of these? And to let them go doesn't make sense. So we started that relationship with Casino 3-4 years ago. I meet with them regularly. Took the whole staff out this year. We flew to their site, flew over the whole site, toured everything, and we're trying to see that come to fruition so that it within mining, if Minto and all that's going down, then this one comes up,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know if it'll go anywhere though. I don't, but.
And so I didn't see any agreement with the casino project. Is there? There's none, right?
There's no IBA or co-op right
Okay.
now. The First Nation is, as I understand, again, I don't work for the nation, but they are negotiating with Casino to see an IBA or co-op agreement put in place.
Yeah.
Same with Coffee Creek is another one.
Yeah.
And Coffee Creek is in traditional territory of Trondeck-Witchin, but it's a kind of an overlap with us.
Yeah.
And our people actually used to use it, and there's sort of a long back history there where we should actually have more rights there, but when they settled land claims, we had to kind of carve a chunk off.
Yeah.
It just happened the mine showed up there 20 years later.
Okay.
So it was one of those kind of things, but
Yeah.
yeah, so there's no IBAs with those. But yeah, the diversification within mining was that, and then to try to increase our presentation at Minto and have more value there, like you say, leasing equipment, try to bring in better partners. We tried to do some different things, but all of it's kind of a moot point at this point because it shut down, the mine shut down.
Yeah.
But we were trying to do different things within the mine, essentially, is what we were doing. Diversifying. The diversifying outside of mining, though, it has gone well. Other than it's just the timeline of these projects takes forever.
Yeah, of course.
And then the reclamation piece, yes, it's always been known that at some point the mine's going to shut down, and then there's going to be this reclamation piece, and we've always targeted that and said that's going to be our future when the mines goes down, because they have to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that company's going to go in there and do it on a 20 to 40% margin.
Yeah, exactly.
Why shouldn't we? Right. So, so that is a big part of our pivot is to continue. That's the short-term goal, is that Minto Mines reclamation is only 3 years. That's the thing. It's 25 years is the total RCP, the reclamation closure plan, but only 3 years of that is active reclamation.
This is just maintenance or something?
The rest is what they call PC 1 and 2, post-closure 1 and 2,
Right.
which post-closure 1 will have a little bit more of a ramp down. There'll be still some maybe equipment in there, but it's primarily water treatment and environmental work, and then post-closure 2 is all water treatment environmental work, and that's like for 10 or 15 years. So you got 3 years of active reclamation where they're going to do a bunch of earthworks, lots of contracts, and then it'll start to go silent. So SDC, we then, in this past year, and we was me, because I don't have any staff. I finally have a couple staff, operational staff, but I did this all myself. Went to the government, pushed them, pitched them, bid everything through partnership, negotiation, got a piece of all of it, and now we're going into year 2 of that. So we now have to do this all again, and we see this for the next 2 years. We're gonna have to keep doing this, and that's gonna be our bread and butter. But one other piece to that is there was an opportunity where, because the river stops access to the mine in the summertime, you have to have a barge to get across the river.
I see.
And I went in last year and I negotiated with the receiver of the mine
Mm-hmm.
to buy the barge, the Minto Mine barge that the Minto Mine had, to buy it off them. Because they needed somebody to operate the service. They didn't want to do it. The government doesn't want to do it. And there's one mining company in the Yukon that was doing it, but charging astronomical amounts of money, like astronomical. And so I saw that and didn't like the fact that a non-nation company was controlling access to our site and charging my partners like $7,000 just to drive across the river.
Yeah. Wow.
And pay up front, cash in hand, or you're not going.
Wow.
Like, that didn't sit well with me.
No kidding.
No. So we went, we bought it, got it for a really good deal, fixed it, operated it this last summer, and now we control the access. We're going to be operating it indefinitely now. So that's one of our business diversifications within mining, is to operate this barge.
Right.
And control the access. So when the government or the receiver or anybody needs to get in and out of there, they got to basically pay us to get across the river.
That's great.
so that's one of the, I like that one too. I'm really happy with that one.
Sure.
Yeah, especially because, off the record, I got it for $25,000.
Oh, that's fantastic, too.
It's $1 million barge. It's insured for $1.6 million. I got it for $25,000. So.
That is the one good thing about receivers, I guess.
But yeah, and it was a negotiation. We had to put $350,000 worth of money into it, and that's the thing. I couldn't see buying it for $500,000, knowing that there's this unknown number of amount of money you have to put in. So we did a whole bunch of deals in the agreement and how it worked, and it all just ended up working out good for us. So we got that. So that's going to be an operation we intend to do through year 2022 or whatever of the road closure. Like, they'll need it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money we'll make off it in those later years. Like, it might be something where we have 1 month where we barge and we just do a 1 month contract and it's a fixed price with a little bit of margin or something. And, we'll have to figure that out as the time comes.
Yeah.
But so far it's been, I don't want to say that it's been ultra successful, but it has been successful because we're going to turn a profit this year. And, all of these things that I've done to change and pivot away and within mining it has worked out for us. It has.
Yeah, that's pretty good with no mine.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Exactly. Like, we've been able to do it, and I mean, like, this year we'd probably do similar revenues to what we would do when the mine was open.
Wow.
And then if we can, my future plan is like hit these 3 years of reclamation, and within that 3 years, by year 3, hopefully we can get our wind turbine site, our wind farm built by that time, and then that chunk goes down, and then the wind is going to come in and take over.
Right.
And believe it or not, like, I mean, you can make some decent money off selling power from wind. We're partnered with people that built those ones up on the mountain.
Oh,
so.
yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah, that's what Chunaquan did that, the local DevCorp of KDFN, but they're in partner with Northern Energy Capital, who is our partner as well. They develop wind sites in the north.
Right, and you partner for the river as well?
Well, that one is, yes, just for now. I mean, it's only pre-feasibility, so we've been working with Stantec is kind of our partner on it, I guess, if you will, but they're not really partnered in it. They're just, a service organization that's helping us to do it, but I would assume down the road they'll have a bigger role if we continue.
Yeah.
I need to take that to the community now and get social license, which is going to be the hard part, getting people to agree to do it. But if they will agree to do it, I mean, it's really a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, other than people's personal perceptions of like dam and all that, because there's no dam. We do have to build a berm, because we have a part of it that's a pump storage. So it basically, the run of the river produces power just like you basically put a pipe coming off the river here and then run it back in down there, because the river's always at a gradient down.
Of course.
Water runs through the pipe, spins a turbine in the pipe, dumps back in the river. Doesn't do anything to anybody. The pump storage part is there's a lake a kilometer above the river up on a hill.
Okay.
And what we want to do is we want to pump freshet spring runoff out of the river when the water's just raging and there's tons of water. Pump it up into that lake, fill that lake up on another 100 feet. And then in the wintertime, you drain the water out of the lake back down through the turbines, and you produce just stable power.
Oh,
out of the lake. It's a water battery, is what it is. It's a water
Interesting.
battery,
Wow.
and they work. They're very well sought after, I guess. But there's not a lot of places that you can do it because of the geology.
Right.
You have to have these certain key characteristics to make this
Yeah.
work.
Wow.
And we have the perfect place. Even the lake we have is a dead lake. There's no fish in it. Fish can't get into it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's in a bowl. It's just mountains on all sides. So if you
Oh, of
flood it,
course.
it doesn't flood any big traditional like
Right.
piece of land. It just increases that little area of the lake.
Yeah.
That's it. So world class site. Already talked to Yukon Energy. I pitched it to their CEO and their board of directors already. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
They're all on board. Everybody's on board. The funders too. We'll get it like 98% funded.
Mm.
It's just a no-brainer. And it's a 100-year project where like it lasts for 100 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So anyway, see if we get that. But
Yeah. Look at that.
but that's the big one for diversification, and all the First Nations are looking at that is the energy security thing in the
Yeah.
Yukon.
Yeah.
Because
That makes a lot of sense.
there's and we have a policy that allows you to sell power here, so
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
not, right?
I think we're nearly out of time, so I've
Yeah.
just got one quick question.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't have any meetings after this today. I'm just gonna go eat lunch and work from home the rest of the day. So
Oh, okay. Hopefully that works. I have a plane to catch.
okay.
Yeah. I'm wondering if you could describe some of the benefits to the community that have been created as a result of the SDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty well. Back in the day, I don't want to say there was actually a whole lot, and that was because of having consultants in here doing everything.
Right.
Now they have citizens in here working. We try to give a lot back. So we've created a bursary program.
Okay.
So we fund people to take education around mining, trades, anything that's in labor market demand. We fund 2 to 4 students every year to do that now. SEC's never done that. We constructed our first fourplex in Pelly Crossing because there's no housing in Pelly.
Right.
So we're now starting to build housing. Initially, that will be for our employees.
Yeah.
But in the future, we want to have market housing that we can offer people houses to live in and actually pay rent. And the reason why we want to do that is to establish a market in our community because there is no market. There's no rent.
Yeah.
So we're trying to offer that, and that is a benefit, is trying to create housing. We hire a fair number of people at our store, locals that stay working at our store and at our resort in the summertime. So we provide employment in those key areas, and we provide competitive wages. If you go to work at our store as a cashier, you're going to make something like 18 to 20 bucks an hour.
Right.
So above the minimum wage.
Yeah.
The store itself is a benefit that we provide to the community. We own and operate it, and we basically run it at a break even. We don't increase the cost of the goods. It's already fairly expensive because of where we live.
Yeah. Exactly.
We try to sell milk and bread and all that at cost. Candy and stuff we put margins on,
Yeah.
right? And so we're trying to, ensure that people get good food at lower prices, and shitty food costs more.
Yeah.
That should be the way it is. I mean, you should be able to buy a banana for 50 cents and a burger at McDonald's for 50 bucks. So, so we do that. We provide community dinners regularly where we go to the community and we do an event. So we'll do presentations on everything that we do, like for the quarter or whatever. We'll seek their feedback on like our new store that we want to build, where we've gone through multiple rounds of that, where we're seeking feedback. And so through those community events, we provide like air tickets, we provide like door prizes, sometimes of thousands of dollars. We, through those events, feed the whole community, even the people that don't show up. Like last time we did prime rib, and it was like, we had like $3,000 worth of prime rib roast.
Wow.
We were just like giving it out, like
That's awesome.
everybody taking it,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we do those sort of little community give backs,
Right.
if you will. And then, we sponsor things in the community. So we sponsor events that happen, from like, we do like family fishing events and things like that in the community. We sponsor them, give door prizes, give jobs. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that our role has been super like giving back to the community over the years. Like SDC originally, when it had consultants running it, it was much more bottom line focused, and now we're really focusing on how do we give back to the community. So those are some of the things we've done, but it's expanding. In the future, I want to have a dividend program where we give dividends to the nation, but we also give dividends to the people.
Right.
So like if we start this hydro project, I want to start a Selkirk People's Fund that basically we will inject cash into over the years, and it will be invested and pay out all the interest every year. And then basically it will grow through investing more into it or stay the same size, but every year each citizen will get like a $500 check from the dividends of this, and then that would increase over time. So that's my dream, is to start something like that, but we have to find good revenue to do it.
Yeah.
That's been the issue, and every step of the way I feel like somebody kicks my legs out from me, and I fall on my face and mine shuts down again. It's really tough. It's hard. Nobody said it would be this hard.
Yeah. Well, you said 18 months average.
Yeah.
CO stay, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 18 months, man, and they're gone. They're gone. Like, I'm not gonna stick around and deal with this, especially when we have a lot of complexity in our business. Yeah. Because you have all these different, like, you're running a mining portfolio completely different from a resort that's a tourism operation, which is completely different from a hotel. Well, not completely, but store that has small margins. Plus, we operate a fire crew.
I saw that, yeah.
Right, we haven't had a fire crew in 2 years because there's nobody that wants to do it. So I keep saying, when they have firefighting robots, we'll have a crew again. But until then, DARPA's got them. I've been watching them on TV. I'm serious, man. I'm like, it's crazy. I say this to everybody, man. We need AI and we need robots because we don't have enough jobs. We have enough people for these jobs. And
that's awesome.
So, but yeah, that's what we do, and we're trying our best to really pivot and grow and keep moving forward. But it's not easy.
I got one more quick question that we'll get out of here. Are any of your members also members of unions? Have you found that? I guess maybe it wouldn't.
Not really. No, I don't think so. Like, we might have a couple trades, carpenters, people that are like part of the carpenter union trades unions, but we don't have no union in our First Nation or here. Or if they work for the government, they would be a part of the PSAC union.
Oh yeah,
public service. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I saw the carpenters to deal with I can't remember which First Nation. That wasn't Katie. It was Carcross.
Oh yeah.
Where they provided training to a number of folks.
Yeah.
To build home housing.
Yeah.
And they ended up coming on as members. It was an interesting deal. I haven't seen something like that before.
Yeah. We've talked about stuff like that. Like, how do we get, when we build, this new Selkirk Center, let's bring in like carpenters and let's get them people trained. Let's start apprenticeships. They'll get friggin' 1,000 hours towards their apprenticeship. Like, so we try to always do that. But again, the bodies, there's just the people.
Really, seems like it.
Yeah, getting the people to do it and people that want to be interested and stay involved, and it's getting worse over the years. And I've been telling our First Nation that, like, as a act dev guy, like I am seriously concerned, and I'm concerned more than others are. They're just kind of like, whatever. But it's 2024, and we have such a hard time filling our seats, getting staff. I don't think that's going to be any better in 2030. I personally think it's going to be worse. And if it gets worse than it is now, there's going to come a breaking point where there's going to need to be drastic action. Like, your government's going to need to have like an open door policy to bring foreigners in, like on a moment's notice, or like, I don't know what is going to be required, but at some point you're going to see businesses shutting down. You're going to see businesses, we're only open 3 days a week, we don't have staff. And we've already had to do that in the community, where we've had to reduce the hours of our store because we couldn't get people. We just had no staff. It's happened a number of times. So.
Well, that's scary.
But yeah, no, overall I think the mining is interesting. We'll see where it goes. I've been involved in it my whole life, and I think that the Yukon needs it, but I think we need to be diversified too. You can't just put all your eggs in that basket. So that's where I'm still going to push in there, and still also push these other directions, and hopefully the Yukon as a whole can make some decisions to help create economic development, because with what we have going now, if it doesn't change, we're just on a spiral down. Down.
Yeah. Well, That's all my
Appreciate
questions.
it. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Probably
That was
talk more
awesome.
than you thought I was gonna. This guy's an open book.